Another day, another Vancouver Canucks trade update. This time, courtesy of our good friend Elliotte Friedman. Okay, he's not my good friend, personally speaking, but still, we all know him, we all love him. It's Elliotte Friedman going on to Donnie and Dolly, the team, to dive into the latest on possible Canucks trades. Rick Dollywall tweeted this out. Friedman says that he doesn't think anything is hot with the Canucks. And Evander Kane, well, a trade for him is most likely post-Olympic break. Now, you had a number of perspectives going out about the Canucks and their trade scenarios. I know Adam Kierszenblat of the Hockey News went out there and said this. Pretty controversial tweet, I'd say. The Canucks not making any additional trades before the Olympic break is not a positive. Not only is there a risk of players getting hurt, but younger players are being denied opportunities at the NHL level. Replies are going out there and saying, okay, well, you're wrong. Wrong. Is it the road trip? Mom's trip? How so bad are we at everything that now we are bad at tanking? There are some other things that we can dive into as well. Canucks News Summaries went out there and summarized most of the Elliotte Friedman, Donnie, and Dolly hit, which is where we're going to dive into a lot of this information here because, of course, it's a long segment. Friedge is on a pretty good show, and there's a lot more info here than just this one individual tweet would imply. So, big shout out over to Canucks News Summaries again, as always, for providing the scoop. Let's dive into what Elliotte Friedman said about Evander Kane, Artemi Panarin, and others. In fact, the segment starts out with Nashville Predators GM Barry Trotz stepping down. A fan favorite, a guy whom everybody respected, did a pretty bad job as the GM over the past few years, and to be honest, he was given a bad hand. Pretty weird position to start out with the aging timeline of some of the top Predator players, and so Barry Trotz, tough spot to begin with, and now he is going to be stepping down. But in regards to the Vancouver Canucks, Friedman does not think that anything is close right now, and the Canucks are willing to listen to other teams about their trade ideas. Friedman says that Evander Kane would be a post-Olympic trade. The Canucks are asking for a mid-round pick with retention, and is similar to other trade targets, so unless someone wants Kane immediately, he won't be moved until closer to the deadline. Please, just go out there and knock on Kenny Holland's door in LA. Seems like he wants Evander Kane, right? The Stars and the Avalanche apparently want Evander Kane, right? This is a guy whose value in Vancouver has been very wishy-washy. He doesn't provide the physical grit that I think a lot of Canucks fans expected. He has not provided any sort of a goal-scoring mold like some Canucks fans expected. But instead, Evander Kane's production has been not the worst in the world. 25 points in 54 games played, on pace for 38 on the full calendar year. Definitely not bad for a guy who is 34 and who missed all of last season's regular season with injury. I'm not trying to defend a guy, but I am just saying, hey, it could have been a lot worse. For what it's worth, Evander Kane still has that reputation. 6'2", 218. We know he can be a fighter. We know he can be explosive with his body checks. Whether or not he exhibits that on the new team, that remains to be seen. But so far for the Vancouver Canucks, I mean, the one game where all these scouts came out to see him play, he was on the fourth line. I think he did have a fight in there, I'm not too sure, but Evander Kane can still cause a ruckus and still be a notable player for some bottom six and of an NHL contender. So, Dallas, Colorado, LA, come take your pick. And please provide Vancouver with some more draft picks as well. Hopefully a third if the Canucks retain half of the $5.125 million deal. Then upgrading a fourth to a third over the span of a year, it's not the worst thing in the world. Now, here is the extra part of the update that we can dive into from Elliotte Friedman. It's a conversation on Artemi Panarin, and this is also why I wanted to include him in this conversation. It feels like it's July 1st with Panarin. It's deciding where he wants to play and which teams are willing to do an extension. Friedman has heard that the Florida Panthers are Panarin's first choice. The Capitals have made a serious run at acquiring him, On some level, the Kings appeal to him. With every passing hour, he hears a different team is involved, and no one wants this to drag on past the Olympic freeze. So that obviously is a pretty big update as well. Yeah, it feels like July 1st with Artemi Panarin, doesn't it? Considering the fact that this guy wants to go once. He does not want to leave in a trade and then leave again in free agency. He does not want to readjust everything twice in the year. He wants to just get it one and done. Trade me and then I'll sign. That seems to be what his plans are. But the Florida Panthers, even though he wants to go there, and of course he wants to go there, all superstars go to Florida at some point, his buddy Tarasenko ended up winning a Stanley Cup with them. Even though he wants to go there, they will not have the cap space to be able to afford Panarin at the ask that he wants. Maybe they're able to converse and negotiate something with the state tax. Hey, can you take $7 million AAV? Because you're going to be taking a lot more of that money take home instead of losing it to taxes or whatever. I don't really know. Panarin going over to Florida would be a nightmare. But there are some other teams here. Washington to play with Ovi. They want him a lot. LA. Maybe he's interested in going over to SoCal. Lots of opportunity for Panarin around the NHL trade block and different teams being involved. That's not a surprise. Nobody wants to see this drag on past the Olympic freeze because it's already been announced that until the Olympic freeze begins, Panarin is not going to play. He's being held out of the lineup, so RIP Artemi Panarin fantasy hockey owners. If you have Panarin in fantasy, please let me know your thoughts. How are you feeling about this entire situation? Because the guy has been producing a lot lately. I mean, 13 points in his last 10, 6 points in his last 5. Panarin has started to really put it together, point production wise, and that's including 2 pointless games against these California teams on January 20th and January 23rd. He's been producing like crazy outside of that. So if you have Panarin in fantasy hockey, you're seeing the guy get sit out now. Are you just eagerly waiting to see him get moved? Or are you more pissed off that this is the situation at hand? A top tier guy is being held out not because he's hurt, but because he just doesn't want to play. Or the team doesn't want him to play. And finally, going back over to the end of Elliotte Friedman's Donnie and Dolly hit, there was some conversation about the Canadian Olympic roster replacements. Frege is under the impression that Logan Thompson will be good to go, and he also thinks a replacement for Anthony Cirelli, recently injured in the Stadium Series, would either be Zach Hyman as a replacement for Connor McDavid lineup, or Sam Bennett, if they need a center and a PKer. Honestly, I see both. Sam Bennett probably makes more sense as a center PK guy to replace Cirelli in the role that he had. Cirelli was put onto the team because he's so good at penalty killing. Zach Hyman, though, as a line mate for McDavid, I think that that's pretty reasonable and appropriate as well. I don't know about you, but you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on that regard. Make Connor McDavid happy or get Sam Bennett, whom a lot of people expected to be an Olympian anyway. I think either makes sense and none is really that much better than the other. But with all that said, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about all these Elliotte Friedman notes from the Evander Kane trade update to Artemi Panarin and his destinations? How do you feel about these updates and news? I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.